You're taking away my freedom. I hate living under the same roof with you." That's what my daughter Nicole screamed, red in the face, fist clenched, before slamming her bedroom door hard enough to make a photo of Lena fall from the hallway wall. I just stood there, still holding my granddaughter's glittery lunchbox, still hearing that word, freedom, but it didn't feel like freedom. It felt like something snapping clean inside me, like a wire that had held me upright for too long, finally giving out. She said I was suffocating her, controlling her, that she couldn't breathe around me. But here's what she didn't say, and what I discovered not even 12 hours later. While she was yelling about freedom, she was secretly trying to steal everything I had. That night, I went into the office, the one I gave up for her so she could job hunt. Her laptop was still open. There it was, my retirement login, still active. My pension account, rerouted. My bank password had been changed. And then I saw it, the deed to my house, half filled out with her name replacing mine, forged, attached to an email marked ready to submit. She called me controlling, but she was taking over my life, one stolen login at a time. She hadn't waited for me to die. She was erasing me while I was still alive, and it worked, until it didn't. I opened my fireproof box from under the bed, the original deed, notarized, my real power of attorney, signed in 2018, Lena's guardianship paperwork, still in my name. Nicole thought I didn't know how to protect myself, that I was too old, too tired, too trusting. But I'd spent 38 years in corporate compliance. I keep paper records, I keep receipts, and I don't get erased. The next morning, I changed every lock on my house, set her suitcases by the porch steps, taped an envelope to the door, her forged documents, printed in color, along with a single line in my handwriting, "You wanted freedom, now you have it." That evening, when she came home and found the door wouldn't open, she started banging, screaming again, but this time, I didn't flinch. This time, I was already calling my neighbor Monica, and I was done staying quiet. 47 days earlier, she stood on my porch with a crying child, 2 overstuffed trash bags, and a look I recognized too well. Desperation wrapped in just enough charm to pass as humility. Her voice was trembling. "Mom, I just need a place for a few weeks, I promise. Just until I figure things out." Her lease had ended. Her last paycheck had bounced. Lena's school had called twice about unpaid lunch bills and threatened to remove her from the second grade roster. I didn't hesitate. I gave her my bedroom, cleared out the garage to store her boxes, moved my sewing table to the basement, and canceled my library volunteer shifts so I could help with school pickups. Because that's what mothers do. We make space, even when no one makes space for us. The first night, Lena fell asleep curled up next to me on the couch. Nicole came out of the bedroom around midnight, holding her phone and whispering fast. When she saw me still awake, she jumped, then laughed. "You scared me. Thought you'd be knocked out by now." I smiled. She kissed Lena's forehead and went back to the room I no longer called mine. At the time, I told myself she was just tired, stressed, that this would all pass. But something was off from the beginning. Nicole didn't move in like someone needing help. She moved in like someone taking over. She immediately adjusted the thermostat, changed the Wi-Fi password to make it easier to remember, told Lena to call the back bedroom Mommy's room, and started referring to the hallway bathroom as yours, Grandma, mine, even though this was my house, even though every pillow, plate, and light bulb had been chosen and paid for by me. But I let it go, because when you've watched your child fall, you tell yourself that boundaries can wait, that stability comes first. You tell yourself they just need time. What I didn't see, what I refused to admit, was that Nicole wasn't asking for space. She was claiming territory, and I wasn't offering help. I was being replaced. It started with little things, just enough to brush off, just enough to question whether it was worth saying anything at all. She called my grocery list retirement home chic, replaced my whole grain cereal with something trendy that came in a box the size of a shoe, said the way I fold towels wasn't functional, turned my hallway cross-stitch into storage space art, and moved it to the garage, all under the excuse of helping, updating, modernizing. Then came the deeper cuts. The ones she said with a smile. She rolled her eyes when I asked about her job hunt. It's called remote hustle, Mom. You wouldn't understand. She mocked my medication schedule, said I had too many pill bottles, and that it made the kitchen look clinical. Then she tossed my old organizer and replaced it with a color-coded app that constantly buzzed, beeped, and reminded me of how much she thought I couldn't handle. One night, I overheard her tell Lena, "Grandma forgets things sometimes. Don't worry, honey, I'll handle it." That stung, not because it was true, it wasn't, but because it planted a seed. You see, when you're my age, people don't wait for proof. They just wait for you to slow down enough for them to justify taking over. But I still let it go, because every time I came close to speaking up, Lena would run into my arms after school and tell me about her day, and I would tell myself, it's worth it. For her, it's worth it. Until the day Nicole drew the line and pushed me out of it. It was a Tuesday. Lena's school sent an email asking for a parent or guardian to attend a behavioral meeting. Nothing serious, just some anxiety issues, maybe too much screen time. I offered to go. "I've been through these with your teachers," I told Lena softly. "It helps to have someone who listens." Nicole was sitting on the couch, pretending not to hear. Then she looked up with that tight-lipped smile that never reached her eyes. "That's more of a parent thing," she said. "Let me handle it." A parent thing. As if the woman who'd rocked that child to sleep, bandaged scraped knees, packed school lunches with handwritten notes, wasn't family, wasn't anything. That night, I tried to pay the water bill. My account was locked. I reset the password. Access denied. My name was gone from the profile. In its place, a new user, N. Cameron. That was the moment I stopped making excuses. Nicole didn't just want freedom. She wanted full access, full control. And I was the last obstacle. She thought I was weak because I let things go. Because I'm the kind of mother who says, "Take the bigger bedroom, I'll be fine." Because I use a paper planner and keep a landline. Because I say things like, "It's just a season," and pray that maybe kindness will be remembered. But she forgot who raised her. Nicole doesn't know much about the life I had before she came along. She doesn't know about the decades I spent in corporate compliance, buried in contracts, spotting forged invoices and backdoor deals before most men even knew where to look. I can see fraud before most people see breakfast. So when my login didn't work, I didn't panic. I went to my file cabinet, the one she never touches because she thinks it's just old tax forms, and pulled the folder marked Accounts plus Deeds. I opened it slowly, not because I needed time, because I wanted to feel this moment. Inside, my original deed, signed, stamped, notarized, 2003, my name only. A power of attorney form from 2018, original ink, witnessed. My bank's printed statements for the last 6 months. No digital logins, just hard copies. A copy of Lena's school paperwork. Guardian listed, me. I stood in that kitchen surrounded by documents Nicole thought I was too forgetful to keep. And I realized I had everything I needed. Not to argue, not to beg, but to act. Nicole was banking on me being passive, grateful, quiet. She forgot that I've always been quiet, but never passive. I didn't say a word that night. I tucked the documents into a clean manila folder, labeled it Nicole, Incident. The next morning, I walked across the street to Monica's house. She's 72, a retired paralegal, and she's known Nicole since she was a teenager sneaking out of the back door with mascara and attitude. Monica opened the door before I even knocked. "You need my brain, not banana bread," she said, stepping aside. I held up the folder. She smiled. "Let's get to work." Monica didn't ask questions. She saw the folder in my hands, the look on my face, and simply said, "Come in." We sat at her dining room table, the same one we'd shared cake over during Lena's 5th birthday. Now it was covered in papers, a laptop, and decades of quiet resilience between us. "I knew something was wrong," she said, flipping through the forged deed copy. She's been parking in your spot like she owns it. I gave a half smile. That was the least of it. She looked over each document with the calm focus only experience gives. No dramatics, no outrage, just facts. Checked and cross-checked. This is real. This one is fake. And this, she said, holding up the school form, is going to break her case wide open. I nodded. I didn't trust my voice yet. She looked at me directly. You want her out? Yes, I said. Legally, quietly. No screaming, no scenes. Monica nodded. Then we start with a 30-day notice to vacate. I'll draft it myself. And don't worry, she won't see this coming. She booted up her old laptop, the same one she used back when she worked for the city's housing department. It buzzed like a tired bee, but still worked like a charm. Forged deed, rerouted accounts, misused guardianship. She's building a little empire on your back. Time to take the first brick out. I sat back and exhaled. For the first time in weeks, the pressure in my chest eased. She looked up, her tone softer now. You're not overreacting, you know. You're protecting yourself. And that little girl. That part hit harder than I expected. Because that's what this was really about. Not just getting my house back. Not just reversing the damage. But protecting Lena. From a mother who was too busy playing power games to notice her daughter shrinking. We stayed up 2 more hours reviewing everything. Monica drafted the notice. I printed my statement. She gave me a template affidavit in case the police got involved later. Said it was best to be ready now, not later. Before I left, she walked me to the door. I've known Nicole since she was a teenager. Always had sharp edges. But she forgot something. What's that? Monica smiled. You may be her mother, but you're also a homeowner, with proof. By the time I walked back across the street with the folder tucked under my arm, the weight of it felt different, heavier, but in a good way, like armor. I didn't sleep much that night. I wasn't afraid. I was focused. This wasn't just about Nicole anymore. It wasn't just about stolen bank logins, forged documents, or her strange little power grabs. It was about what she thought she could get away with. And it was about showing her that the woman she underestimated, the too trusting, too old, stuck in the past mother, was 10 steps ahead. So I wrote it down. On a yellow legal pad, in my clean block print handwriting, I made a list. I needed to see it. The truth of what was happening. The real objectives. Objective 1. Reclaim legal ownership of my home. Yes, the deed was still in my name, but she had tried to change it. She submitted a fraudulent transfer with my forged signature. That wasn't a mistake. That was intent. Objective 2. Remove Nicole from the property, legally. No outbursts. No fighting in front of Lena. Just a formal eviction, supported by documentation and signed affidavits. Monica would help me file the 30-day notice to vacate. If Nicole didn't leave, then I'd go through the court. Objective 3. Expose the manipulation and protect Lena. The lies weren't just about money. Nicole had been planting doubts in Lena's mind. Quiet ones. Subtle ones. Grandma forgets things. Grandma's confused. I'd heard it before. I'd let it slide. I won't anymore. Objective 4. Protect my financial identity and freeze account access. Change passwords. Notify the bank. Document the timeline. I wasn't just a target. I was a victim of attempted financial abuse, but I would not stay one. The last item I wrote down was different. Objective 5. Reclaim my freedom, the real kind, not Nicole's version of freedom, the kind where you stomp on someone else to feel tall. I wanted peace, security, a life where I wasn't afraid to sleep in my own home, and I would have it. I folded the list and slipped it into the front of the folder, a reminder. Every time I felt guilty, every time I thought, but she's my daughter, I would read that list again. Because daughters don't forge their mother's name. They don't lie to banks. And they don't try to erase the hand that raised them. The truth hides in the details. That's what Monica said as we sat shoulder to shoulder at her dining table, both of us hunched over the printed copy of the forged deed. I handed her a highlighter, she handed me her glasses. And we went line by line. Nicole had filled it out on some free legal form site. She'd even found a fake notary stamp online, one of those digital overlays people use to make things look official. It had the right seal, the right formatting. But the name? The name belonged to a notary who passed away 3 years ago. She didn't even bother to check if the notary was active, Monica muttered, clicking her tongue. But it got better, or worse, depending on how you looked at it. "Look at this," she said, pointing to the header. She misspelled Commonwealth. I leaned in. Commonwealth. 2 M's. It was subtle. You'd miss it unless you were trained to look for inconsistencies. But for Monica, that was the red flag. She copy-pasted from another state's form, then changed the top, she explained. Sloppy forgery. Worse, she submitted this version electronically with your signature already applied. How do you know she submitted it? Monica clicked through the metadata on the PDF file. Nicole hadn't just saved the form, she'd uploaded it to a county assessor account registered in my name. The timestamp was 3 weeks ago. IP address? Nicole's laptop. It's not just intent anymore, Monica said, pushing her glasses up. This is attempted title fraud. My hands went still. I wasn't angry. Not even surprised, but it hit me different, seeing it laid out that clearly. She really thought I'd never find this. This one misspelled word, I said quietly, could bring the whole thing down. Monica smiled. It usually does. She highlighted it, printed a copy, labeled it Exhibit A. We added it to the growing folder, the one Nicole didn't know existed. Not yet. And then Monica opened a new document on her laptop. Time to draft a notarized affidavit. This mistake? It'll be the first brick in your wall of proof. I sat back, a slow breath easing out of me. One word. One detail. That's all it took to start unraveling everything she tried to build on my back. Nicole thought she was clever, but she forgot something important. Real power doesn't need to scream. It only needs receipts. Monica called it the paper trail test. Anyone can claim they've been manipulated, she said, opening her legal pad. But if you've got a clean log of events, dates, statements, names, that's not emotion, that's evidence. I nodded once, stood up, and walked back to my house. 10 minutes later, I returned with a worn, leather-bound planner, the kind with a snap closure and handwritten tabs. Nicole used to laugh at it. Why don't you just use Google Calendar like a normal person? Because paper doesn't lock me out. Because paper doesn't disappear when someone guesses my password. I set the planner down between us and opened to the first tab, Finances. Inside were cross-referenced passwords, phone logs, account contacts, and backup verification codes. Dates I'd called the bank. Who I spoke with. What they said. I flipped to the second tab, Nicole. Dates she moved in. Receipts for groceries I bought on her card, but that hit my account. Screenshots I'd printed when I noticed the first bank reroute confirmation. I hadn't planned it as a case file, but that's exactly what it had become. Look at this, I said, sliding her a copy of Lena's updated school registration. Under Parent/Guardian, it listed Nicole Cameron. Under Secondary Contact, blank. I was removed last month, Monica read silently, jaw tightening. She's isolating you. This isn't just about property anymore. It's guardianship interference. I nodded. She's setting the stage. If I speak up too loudly, I'm confused. If I push back, I'm unwell. Or controlling. Monica added. Exactly. Nicole's whole angle wasn't just about removing me physically. She was rewriting the narrative. So when she took over my home, my money, my role in Lena's life, it would look like compassion, not control. But now, I had the full arc. Bank login changes, school forms, email reroutes, forged documents, and time-stamped proof that none of this was accidental. Monica leaned back and tapped her pen on the table. She's sloppy in the digital world, but you've kept everything in writing. That's what's going to undo her. I looked at the planner in front of me, pages filled with ink, faded receipts taped to margins, notes in my own careful handwriting. Nicole thought I was forgetful, thought I was weak, thought she'd buried me under her paperwork. But I wasn't buried. I was documented. And very soon, this quiet little planner was going to speak louder than any screaming match ever could. Nicole could feel the shift. She didn't know what I'd found. Not yet. But something in me had changed. I wasn't backing down so easily anymore. And that made her nervous. The next morning, she came into the kitchen with that overly bright tone she uses when she wants to manage the mood. "Morning, Mom," she chirped, pouring herself the last of the orange juice. "Sleep okay? You've seemed off lately." I didn't answer, just stirred my tea. She kept going, her voice soft and condescending. "You've been forgetting little things. Passwords, Lena's school stuff, that kind of thing. Maybe we should think about getting a system in place. I could help." There it was, the beginning of the story she wanted to tell, not the truth, her version of it. The one where I'm forgetful, fragile, and need a little extra help. She was rewriting my life in front of me, and she wanted me to nod along and agree to it. "Everything's handled," I said plainly. She blinked, thrown off by how flat my voice was. "Oh, I just meant, well, you've had a lot on your plate. I'm trying to make things easier." "By locking me out of my bank account?" Nicole froze, just for a second. But I saw it. The eyes shifted. The muscles in her jaw tightened. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said slowly. "Maybe you forgot your password. It happens. I can help reset it if you want." "You reset it already." "Mom," she said, lowering her voice now, like we were in a hospital waiting room. "You're being paranoid. That's not good for your blood pressure." There it was. The gaslight. And then, just for good measure, she added it. "Let's just keep things simple, okay? For Lena's sake." I looked at her, really looked. The woman who once cried in my arms after losing a job. The woman I stayed up with during endless colic nights. The daughter I gave everything to was now standing in my kitchen, lying to my face while pretending to be the calm one. She turned and opened a cabinet, then paused. "Oh, I moved your sewing cabinet to the garage. It was starting to clutter the living room. Hope that's okay." No question, no discussion, just another piece of me, boxed up. I looked at her hands, still wrapped around the handle of the cabinet. Control, not care. That's what this was. And she was escalating. But so was I. She didn't know it yet, but every lie she told, every excuse she made, every cabinet she moved, was already in Monica's affidavit. And it was only getting longer. It's one thing to suspect you're being taken advantage of. It's another to hold the receipts in your hand. Literal receipts. They started arriving like breadcrumbs. Small, almost forgettable pieces of paper, unless you knew what you were looking at. The first one came in a voicemail. A calm, robotic voice from the bank. "You have successfully changed the email associated with your online account." I hadn't. The second came with a delivery. A brown cardboard box left on the porch, addressed to Nicole. She claimed it was office supplies. When I opened the billing statement later that night, I found a $1,900 charge to my credit card. Standing desk, wireless printer, 2 ergonomic chairs, home office setup. The itemized receipt said, I called the card company. They confirmed the charge came from my account. Nicole had listed herself as an authorized user, something I never approved. I didn't confront her. I printed the receipt. Exhibit B. The next day, I visited Lena's school to ask about the upcoming parent-teacher meeting. The receptionist looked at me with a smile that turned quickly into confusion. "I'm sorry, are you still listed as guardian?" Nicole came by last week to update the file. She pulled it up. My name had been completely removed. No backup contact. No medical release authority. No emergency access. Just one name, Nicole Cameron, Exhibit C. I thanked her politely, went home, and pulled out my planner again. Taped the receipt to a clean sheet. Underneath, I wrote in clean black ink, "Control, not care." Because that's what this was. It wasn't about helping me. It wasn't even about Lena. It was about erasing me from my own life, one document at a time. She thought she could outsmart me with apps and online portals. But I had something better. Something that doesn't glitch, freeze, or disappear into a spam folder. A paper trail. In my generation, we were taught that receipts meant responsibility. If you bought something, you kept proof. If you agreed to something, you signed your name. Nicole never learned that. Or maybe she thought she'd never have to answer for anything. But every lie she told came with a timestamp. Every dollar she stole left a record. And I was collecting them all. By the time Monica added it to the affidavit, we had enough to make any judge raise an eyebrow. And Nicole? She was still moving my furniture around, completely unaware she was building a case against herself. Monica and I had gathered enough to file a case. But she wanted to be thorough. "Let's pull court filings," she said, just to see what else she's touched. We sat at her kitchen table. Again, same laptop, same coffee. This time, we searched me. Monica typed in my name, then Nicole's. Then the county court portal blinked once, twice. There it was. Filed. Durable power of attorney agent, Nicole Cameron. Filed. 10 days ago. My stomach didn't drop. It went still, like silence before an earthquake. "Open it," I said. She did. The form looked official. The formatting was perfect. The header had the right county seal. But the signature? Mine. Except not. It wasn't ink. It was scanned. And worse, I recognized the signature. It was from a scan of a Christmas card I'd signed last year. Nicole had saved it, reused it. She forged my name using a holiday message. Monica leaned in. "This is serious, Grace." "I know." "No, serious. This isn't a family squabble anymore. This is felony-level fraud." I kept my eyes on the screen. "Does it override my old one?" "Only if she convinces someone it's real. The one from 2018 is still valid. Yours is notarized, witnessed, and stored properly. This?" She tapped the monitor. "This was uploaded from a Gmail account. The notary listed isn't in the state database." I swallowed. Not fear, not guilt, just fire. Nicole hadn't just tried to take my house. She tried to take me, the legal version of me, the decision-making me. She had told the state that I could no longer act in my own best interest, and that she would now decide everything for me. My accounts, my care, my legacy, all under her name, but I had the real power of attorney in my safe, with witnesses, with ink, with dates. And now I had both, the truth and the forgery, side by side. We printed the digital fake, labeled it Exhibit D POA fraud. Monica notarized her affidavit that same evening. She looked at me as she slid the papers into the folder. "Once we deliver this to the county clerk, she's going to lose access to everything she touched." I nodded slowly. She thought she was getting power, I said. Monica smiled, calm and steady. And instead, she just gave it back. That night, I heard voices through the vent. Lena's voice, soft and hesitant. "Why is Grandma always mad lately?" I froze in the hallway. Nicole didn't skip a beat. "She's just old, baby. Don't take it personal." Just old. I pressed my hand against the wall to steady myself. It was a casual line, almost gentle, like she was protecting Lena from the truth. Only it wasn't truth. It was strategy, the kind that makes you question what's real, even in your own home. I stood there in the dark, staring down the hallway I'd vacuumed 1,000 times, where Lena used to run in her pajamas, blanket dragging behind her. And I felt it. Not rage, not defeat, something colder, quieter, grief. Because somewhere in the middle of all this, between the forged deed, the locked accounts, the school forms, and the power of attorney, Nicole had taken something I hadn't expected to lose. Lena's trust. Piece by piece, word by word, like poison in tea, tasteless but deadly over time. I remembered the way Lena had hesitated before hugging me that morning, the way she flinched when I corrected her spelling, the way she looked to Nicole for permission before she looked at me, and suddenly none of the documents mattered. Not the planner, not the affidavits, not even the real deed. Because what good is having a house if the love inside it has been quietly turned against you? I sat at the edge of my bed and bit down so hard on my lip, I tasted blood. I didn't cry. I wouldn't give Nicole that satisfaction, even in private. But that was the moment I stopped trying to save the relationship. That part of me, the part that still hoped Nicole would apologize, Say it got out of hand? Admit she'd gone too far? That part died right there in the hallway. Because you can fix finances, you can fight for your property, you can even rebuild your legal identity. But once someone tries to turn your grandchild into your witness against you, that's not a mistake. That's war. I wasn't powerless, and I wasn't confused. I was patient. And I was done being sentimental. Nicole left just after 7 a.m. keys jingling, sunglasses on, not a word about where she was going. "I'll be back later," she said casually, like this was still her house. Like she owned the day. She didn't look at me. But I looked at her. And I knew exactly what I had to do. I waited 10 minutes. Then I called Victor, the locksmith. He arrived at 7:25 on the dot. A kind man, no questions. Just a clipboard and a quiet respect that made the whole thing feel less like a crisis and more like a transaction. "I'm just updating things," I told him. "Fresh start." He nodded and got to work. By 7:42, every lock had been changed. Front, back, garage, and mailbox. By 8 o'clock, Monica pulled into my driveway with a folder in one hand and 2 cups of tea in the other. We laid everything out on the dining table like we were setting up for a trial. Because in a way, we were. The 30-day notice to vacate, legally sound, formally worded. Monica's notarized affidavit outlining observed manipulation and forged documents. A copy of the real deed, signed, sealed, original. The school paperwork, showing Nicole had removed me. The fake power of attorney, with a dead notary and a digital signature pulled from a Christmas card. The metadata showing she uploaded it from her Gmail. The $1,900 receipt for her home office, paid with my card. The voicemail transcript from the bank confirming my email had been changed. My letter revoking her access to all financial accounts. We sealed the documents inside a thick, clasped envelope. On the front, I wrote her name in calm, even handwriting, Nicole. I set it on the porch bench, just beneath the front light. Then I brought out her suitcases, packed neatly the night before. 2 trash bags, 1 roller bag, a shoebox of makeup, her laptop charger, and the hoodie she always wore that said, "Empowered Women, Empower Women." I draped it gently across the top of her suitcase. Her vape pen was still on the railing. I left it there, not out of cruelty, out of closure. This wasn't about revenge. It was about restoration, restoring my home, my safety, my role in Lena's life. And the version of me Nicole thought she could quietly erase. The porch light stayed on. I wanted her to see everything clearly when she came home. The bags, the envelope, the door that no longer opened for her. She said I was controlling her. But the truth is, I had finally taken back control of myself. Nicole came home at exactly 6:12 p.m. Monica and I watched from the front window as her car pulled into the driveway. Fast. Too fast. She barely shifted into park before jumping out, eyes locked on the suitcases. Then she saw the envelope. And then the door. She tried the knob. Locked. She pounded once. Twice. Then the shouting started. "You can't do this! Open the door! You've lost it, Mom! Seriously, you've lost your mind!" I didn't open the door. I didn't respond. Instead, I took the folder of documents we'd prepared and walked calmly to the door. Nicole had already pulled out her phone. "Yeah," she said loudly, pacing on the porch. "I need police. My elderly mother locked me out of the house. I think she's confused or having an episode." There it was, the final play, elder abuse. Make me the unstable one. Make herself the concerned daughter. The irony nearly made me laugh. Monica stood behind me, composed, silent. 10 minutes later, the patrol car pulled up. A male officer stepped out, late 30s, measured in his movement. He approached Nicole first, took her statement, then knocked at my door. I opened it halfway and handed him the folder. "My name is Grace Cameron. I own this home. Everything you need is in that envelope. Deed, notarized affidavit, power of attorney, and a 30-day notice to vacate." He flipped open the folder, eyes scanning. I handed him my photo ID and the original house deed. He looked at both, then back at me. "Do you mind if I come in for a moment?" I nodded. Monica joined me in the living room while he stepped inside. Nicole tried to follow. "Ma'am," he stopped her at the threshold. "I need to verify ownership first. Please wait outside." The look on her face. It wasn't shock. It was fear dressed up as outrage. The officer spent 5 minutes reviewing the paperwork. Then he stepped back outside. We couldn't hear everything he said, but we heard enough. "Ma'am, she owns this home." "No, that power of attorney's fake. She has documentation showing you changed her bank access. There's a notarized statement. Several, actually." Nicole's voice raised, sharp and desperate. "She's confused. My mom forgets things. She's never been great with tech, and I was just—" The officer cut her off without even looking back. "Ma'am, forging legal documents, removing someone from their financial accounts, and filing a false power of attorney isn't caregiving. It's criminal." Nicole went silent. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, she had nothing to say. No comeback, no sarcasm, no tired sighs or tight smiles. Just the quiet realization that the story she told had collapsed under the weight of the truth. And that envelope, the one she ignored when she stormed the porch, was now evidence. Nicole always had a way of bending herself into whatever role she needed to play. The dutiful daughter, the overworked single mom, the misunderstood woman, just trying her best. But standing in that hallway, outside a door that no longer opened for her, those roles didn't work anymore. Not with a police officer reviewing a forged deed. Not with Monica calmly organizing the evidence by category. Not with me, not quiet, not shaken, just still. Nicole's mask cracked. First came the anger. "So what? You're kicking your own daughter out after everything I've done for you?" The officer shifted his weight slightly but didn't intervene. I looked her in the eye. "You didn't help me, Nicole. You stole from me." "You're unbelievable," she spat. "I gave up everything to move in here. I reorganized your whole life. I managed your bills. You don't even understand how lucky you are." Monica raised an eyebrow but stayed silent. The officer looked between us, then said calmly, "By forging legal documents?" Nicole's voice faltered. "I was trying to streamline things. Mom gets overwhelmed. I was just helping her get organized." There it was again, the fallback. The idea that I was fragile, forgetful, easy to manipulate. But now, I wasn't the one being questioned. Monica stepped forward. Not aggressive, just clear. "You weren't streamlining," she said. "You were eliminating her from her own home, her own finances, her own granddaughter's life." Nicole's jaw tightened. "You don't even know the full story," she snapped. "You don't live with her," the officer cut in. "And yet she has every piece of documentation, every receipt, every original. And you? You submitted false records under a deceased notary." Nicole looked down, blinked rapidly, then folded her arms. "I'm not saying another word without a lawyer." He nodded. "That's your right. But you'll be hearing from Adult Protective Services. There's a formal complaint pending." And just like that, she shrank. Not physically, not dramatically, but the swagger drained, the edge dulled, the daughter who once controlled every room, now standing outside one she couldn't enter. I didn't say anything else. There was no need. I had said everything I needed to say, on paper, in print, and with the silence of a locked door. Nicole turned and walked down the porch steps without another word, and I exhaled. Not relief, release. The power was mine again, not taken by force, not shouted into place, just restored. With truth, patience, and a locked front door, it started with the PTA committee. By Friday, Nicole's name had quietly disappeared from the parent volunteer roster at Lena's school. No explanation, just gone. Then came her job. She'd been working a freelance remote gig for a marketing agency. Flexible hours, paid by project, the same job she'd set up her home office for, using my money. But apparently, someone on their team received an anonymous packet of documents. Not from me. Monica handled that. Legally. Privately. All I know is Nicole's contract was suddenly put on hold. Internal review, they called it. Next came the whispers. The neighbor who always waved from her rose garden? She looked right through Nicole when she passed. The mailman stopped handing her the mail directly. The cashier at the grocery store, the one who used to joke with her, barely made eye contact. It wasn't rage. It was exposure. Nicole had built her identity around being the struggling daughter, the hard-working single mom, the woman who never got enough credit. Now she was just a woman with no job, no credibility, and no house key. But the fallout didn't end with her reputation, because Lena still needed a home, and Lena still needed stability. So I made the call, not to punish Nicole, not out of revenge, but because Lena deserved better than sleeping on a couch in a friend's apartment while her mother tried to untangle a legal mess of her own making. I filed the petition for temporary shared custody. Monica helped me assemble everything. Lena's original enrollment paperwork, notes from the school counselor, a notarized letter from my doctor stating I was of sound mind, copies of the fraudulent power of attorney Nicole submitted, and a formal statement from me requesting joint legal and physical custody, citing the unstable housing, the financial manipulation, and the pattern of deception. The response came quickly. The court agreed. Lena would stay with me 4 nights a week, with Nicole having weekends. Why? Because I had a home. Because I had structure. Because I had never once used my granddaughter as a prop in a power game. Nicole didn't show up to the custody hearing. Her lawyer did, late, but the damage was done. That night, Lena brought her little pink backpack into the house like nothing had happened. She hugged me tight and asked, "Can I sleep in your bed tonight?" I let her. Not because she was scared, but because for the first time in weeks, she felt safe. The legal system moves slowly, but when it starts, it doesn't stop. Monica filed the formal elder abuse complaint the following Monday. We attached every document we'd already prepared and added 2 new ones, a statement from Lena's school counselor and a timeline of Nicole's forged communications. It wasn't just fraud, it was a pattern. That same week, my lawyer notified 3 local banks and 2 credit bureaus. Nicole's name was flagged, her access revoked, her authorization stripped from every shared account she'd quietly inserted herself into. She hadn't just been removed, she'd been shut out. Then came the credit card company. Once they saw the forged power of attorney and unauthorized office expenses, they launched their own investigation. I didn't ask for charges to be pressed, but I didn't stop them either. Nicole tried calling me twice. I didn't answer. Then she left a voicemail that started with, "You're overreacting," and ended with, "We're still family." No apology, no accountability. Just a woman trying to rewrite the story, again, with herself at the center. I saved the voicemail, forwarded it to my lawyer. By mid-month, Lena's school counselor submitted a written statement supporting our custody arrangement. She wrote that Lena was, quote, "calmer, more emotionally regulated and less anxious since spending most of the week in my home." That one line nearly broke me, not out of sadness, out of relief, because for all the chaos Nicole had caused, she hadn't broken Lena, not yet, and I would make sure she never did. Nicole moved in with a friend, temporarily, she said, but it wasn't the kind of situation that lasts. No stable address, no job, no car in her name. And as custody discussions continued, that mattered. Because the court doesn't just look at who loves a child, it looks at who protects them, who shows up, who builds stability, not stories. Nicole tried to frame everything as a misunderstanding, but the forged documents didn't care about her intentions. And the county clerk's office had already flagged her name for further investigation. She wasn't in jail, she wasn't homeless. But she was exposed, and she was alone. Not because I turned people against her, but because, for once, the truth didn't let her hide behind performance. For the first time, actions had consequences. And for the first time in far too long, I felt safe enough to breathe again. The house was still, not empty, just peaceful. Nicole hadn't been back in 3 weeks. There were no more slammed doors, no whispered phone calls from the hallway, no coffee cups left half full in the sink. Just me, the sound of my sewing machine, and Lena humming in the next room. I moved back into my bedroom the night the judge signed the temporary custody order. I hadn't realized how much of myself I'd packed away for other people. That night, I opened the closet and ran my hand across the fabric of my old life. Dresses I hadn't worn in years, quilting fabric stacked neatly, the box of Lena's baby toys I'd kept because she forgot them, but I never could. I sewed new curtains the next morning, blue and yellow, Lena's favorite colors. The light poured through them like a promise. Sunday came, and I baked blueberry muffins. The good kind, with coarse sugar on top and real vanilla in the batter. Lena helped. She spilled flour on the floor and giggled when I accidentally got powdered sugar on her nose. We laughed, really laughed. That night, after she brushed her teeth and picked out her bedtime book, she slipped a folded piece of paper under my bedroom door. My heart stopped for a second. I picked it up and opened it. In big, careful handwriting with backward L's and a little heart at the end, it said, "I'm glad you're the boss again, Grandma." No prompting. No coaching. Just Lena, seeing the truth and putting it into words. I sat on the edge of my bed and let the tears fall. Not from pain, from gratitude. Because this wasn't just about winning. It was about returning. To my home. To my place. To myself. I wasn't the victim anymore. I wasn't the background character in Nicole's drama. I was the woman who rebuilt her life. One folder, one form, one truth at a time. And now I had everything I needed. Lena's trust, my freedom, and a house full of light. Nicole still calls sometimes. I don't block her. But I don't answer either. Not until she says the words I know. She still doesn't believe. I'm sorry. Until then, the locks stay changed. The documents stay filed. And the door, the one to my home and my heart, stays shut. Because I'm not just back. I'm whole. And this time, no one is taking that from me. Thank you so much for staying with this story all the way to the end. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. It really helps more people discover these kinds of stories. Have you ever been in a situation where someone you trusted tried to take advantage of you? And how did you find the strength to take back control? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your experience in the comments and let us know where you're listening from.